Hello, everyone. It's Laurie White from the Greater Providence Chamber of Commerce, and welcome to episode number 67 of Chamber TV here live with some wonderful friends of the Greater Providence Chamber of Commerce. We have Stu Benton, who is the president and CEO of one of our longest and most successful manufacturing companies in Rhode Island, the original Bradford Soap Works. And we also have with us today Christian Cowan, who heads Polaris MEP, that's the Manufacturing Extension Program here in Rhode Island. So we are going to be talking about all things manufacturing today, and particularly what the manufacturing sector has been doing as of late as a response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and the critical role that manufacturers continue to play not only in bolstering the state's economy, but also during this particular time where we are relying on our manufacturing sector to provide personal protection equipment and other innovations to help us all through the pandemic. So I would like to officially welcome Stu and Christian. So how are you both doing today?
Great, thanks, Laurie. It's good to be here. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Laurie. It's great to be here with you and Christian today.
Great. So we'd like to always start out by asking our guests how they're doing and how's their family and where are they right now in terms of, working from home or elsewhere. So how are you doing, Stu?
I'm doing well. So I have, for most people, they probably know I have two grown daughters. I have a 22 and a 20-year-old daughter. So my 22-year-old just graduated from Syracuse University and is a pre-med major. So she's in the middle of getting ready to do the testing, and my other one is a sophomore at Salisbury University, and she's trying to figure out what fall looks like, and she's an athlete as well. But we're doing well. We're enjoying a lot more family time, and but in regards to work, I come into the office every day. We have over 331 people working at Bradford, and the majority of those are in Rhode Island. And we have an active manufacturing facility here in West Warwick. So to be part of the team, I'm here with them every day, trying to make sure that we're doing the right things and keeping everybody healthy and safe.
Mm-hmm. And you are an essential business.
We are, yes, under the DHS CISA document, we're essential, and we're making soap for the world. As we talk to all of our teammates here. It's a very simple thing, but it's solid cleansing. And as people become more hygienic and with this virus, hard soap is the most effective tool to kill it because of the way it's made. There's a lot of science. It's made with fats and oils versus liquid soap is mostly water. So actually the hard soap kills the virus much more effectively and much easier than hand sanitizer or liquid soap.
Amazing. All right. Well, we'll get into that a little bit more in a few minutes, but I do want to officially welcome Christian and ask you, Christian, how are you doing?
Oh, thanks, Laurie. I'm doing well. I also have two kids. My older son is 20, student up at the University of Maine, who's frankly not terribly excited to be living with his parents right now, but we're all doing well and healthy as a family. And my younger son is going into his senior year of high school, so for both of them, we're trying to figure out what the fall looks like. It's not completely clear right now, but we're lucky to be tight as a family unit and all here, healthy and going forward together. So, but Polaris is we've got 14 people on staff. This pandemic has hit us in a unique way. I always used to say the best days are when I go into the office and there's no one there because our staff is all deployed out in manufacturing companies. So when the pandemic hit, that it immediately stopped our visitation into all the manufacturing companies across the state. So we have shifted into an all virtual work environment now. And we just in the past month have started going out and helping companies on site, but we've transitioned a lot of our training programs into virtual programs, and we're also trying to figure out what that looks like going forward, whether it's a mix of physical and virtual training and how we support the manufacturing companies the best way.
Mhm. So tell us a little bit about what a manufacturing extension program is for those of our viewers that may be extra curious.
Thanks, Laurie. So it's the MEP program is a national federal program. There's one MEP center in every state. Polaris is the one here in Rhode Island, and we're all started from the same premise to support the sustainability and the growth of small and medium manufacturers. So we deliver programs that affect both top line and bottom line growth of the companies. Lean manufacturing, quality systems, but also help companies with sales and marketing and strategy tools as well. So we are, in its simplest terms, consultants, but our staff has literally decades of global experience working on manufacturing floors and in the boardrooms of companies around the world. So we bring really global knowledge into the companies here in Rhode Island and help them grow going forward. So that is looking a little bit different in the future, but there are a lot of pretty exciting initiatives from a state and federal perspective that I think that we're looking forward to help companies with.
Stu, I know your business has been around for generations, one of the oldest businesses in Rhode Island. So I know that also that you're involved with Polaris MEP. Give us a little sense of the context that working with a whole cohort of manufacturers that are really focused on innovation has helped you and your colleagues.
Sure. I think just to give a little more breadth on Bradford, but as you said, we've been around since 1876, and Rhode Island was the textile capital of the New World, and this is where people flocked. So Rhode Island is this rich history of manufacturing, and working with Polaris and actually Reamer as well, getting together with our cohorts in manufacturing, it's proven very helpful because we can bounce ideas off each other. I recall quite early in the process, I think it was the last week of February, it might have been the first week of March, and we were able to have a meeting with the governor, and there was about 15 of our manufacturers in a room, and we were just starting to talk about what the state of Rhode Island was going to do, and what this COVID or coronavirus was all about at the time. And so we could hear what fellow manufacturers were doing at that point in time, what they expected to do. And so you could really assess whether you're going down the right path. And you had large companies, small companies. So it was really important. And at that time, the governor had said, along with Stefan, who was in the meeting, that her goal was to keep all the manufacturers open. But the burden was on us to make sure it was safe. And so it was really very helpful to get all of the perspectives of the people that were in the room.
So Christian, in terms of the role of manufacturing as a percentage of gross state product in Rhode Island, give us a little bit of a sense of how that's been waxing and waning over the last 3 years.
Yeah, it's so the manufacturing sector in Rhode Island has grown substantially over the past 3 years. So there was certainly a downturn over previous decades, but the technological and innovative growth of companies. You look at textile companies and how they have really changed and morphed to go from standard textiles and basic textiles into really more complex smart fabrics and things that really regulate themselves and with sensor embedding and so forth. The very complex precision machining industry here in Rhode Island, metal machining has tremendously grown with technology, with CNC machines and very automated processes. So in the past, I've been in my position for 6 years. In the past 10, it's really grown with the injection of technology, but really the innovative perspective for the people that leave the companies. And Dave Chenevier from RIMA has really pushed the companies and the industry at the forefront. I will say in the beginning of this coronavirus pandemic, myself and Dave Chenevier were kind of thrown into a mix of making sure that we understand what's going on with the virus, health officials, et cetera. The RIMA's pledge, Stu is integral with this. RIMA's pledge that manufacturers signed that they would follow regulations was incredibly critical to the governor. And to her credit, and Secretary Pryor, we were one of very few companies where all the manufacturing companies were allowed to operate, and it was really in large part due to RIMA's very successful collaborating and getting companies together. Polaris has helped push that message out across the country. So Rhode Island's actually kind of led from a perspective of leadership and forefront thinking to make sure that companies are ahead of the game for protecting their employers and their business.
So, of course, RIMA is the Rhode Island Manufacturers Association, which is a partner organization or work collaboratively with Polaris MEP. So the two entities together are the advocacy associations for our manufacturing sector. So if you're just joining us, we're talking with Christian Cowan, who heads Polaris MEP, and Stuart Benton, who's the president and CEO of one of our mainstay manufacturing companies in Rhode Island, Original Bradford Soapworks. And we're talking about manufacturing, all things manufacturing, and the response of this sector to the COVID-19 pandemic. Christian, the Polaris and your colleagues have recently undertaken a survey to better understand what each of our manufacturers is experiencing from a financial and economic and workforce point of view as a result of the virus. Can you tell us a little bit about the survey and what the material that you're covering, and also how many companies have participated in this really important work?
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Laurie. The Polaris and the state are really trying to understand, what's going on day to day in manufacturing companies and what manufacturing companies need to come out of this crisis. So there were more than 30 companies responded in a variety of different methods and questions. We asked them how long it would take for their companies to recover. I think to a testament to the manufacturing base here in Rhode Island, more than a third of them said that they could recover in a month. It would take them a month to get their business back up and going. In contrast,
a month from when? From if they were closed, or on a going forward basis, or what's the context of that?
Yeah, we were looking for how long will it take you to get your business back up to where it was pre-virus, and a lot of them said they were about a month away. About a quarter of them said that they were 6 months or more away. Actually, more than a quarter, almost half of them said they were 6 months or more away. So there is still a recovery process for manufacturers, and we wanted to really know what they needed to recover from a support network standpoint. A lot of the companies responded, and I think Stu's got some similar sentiments that they need workforce help. Similar message that we've gotten in the past, but the workforce environment has changed dramatically as a result of the virus. And the other, a near second to that response was companies are looking for technology to help support their growth in order to make more products better. So they're looking for more automated equipment, more support for that equipment, and more technology in their products. So technology and workforce were high up on the list for companies to come out of this crisis and build their business up again.
Stu, you've been with Original Bradford Soapworks for quite a while. What are the workforce issues that Christian's referring to that are so challenging?
Yes, I think we must have been in the top two of the survey, because the two most challenging things that we have right now is finding people. Over the last 4 weeks, we've been on an endeavor to hire almost 50 people in Rhode Island. It's a combination of a large new project that we've been working on for Johnson & Johnson and their Neutrogena project. And that kicked off either good, bad, or indifferently. That kicked off on June 1st. So we needed to add 3 shifts of people. And also, if you combine that with COVID and the stance that we took with COVID, I had one underlying thought, and that was to keep the team and the facility as healthy and safe as they could be. And so that meant that we had very restrictive guidelines for our teammates to get on site. They have to answer a questionnaire. If they have any symptoms, they cannot proceed to the facility. We had to implement physical distancing. We had to slow down lines and lose capacity and efficiency. So that meant that we needed people. And it's a challenge right now recruiting people. I can't say we're striking out, but I'm not. You hear of all of the people that are out of work. You would think you'd be able to fill jobs in a minute, right? And it's taken us, we probably average 5 or 6 people that we can bring on board. And it's a couple of factors. Number one is with the unemployment, the additional $600 makes it challenging because people can make as much or more by not coming in. And so that does make it challenging. Number two, we do background checks and drug screens, as you would expect. The labs and the facilities that do this work are so backed up that they can't squeeze in employment reviews. They're doing testing of that nature. So it's truly a challenge in trying to staff up the facility. And then, we always had an endeavor. We're pretty automated, but one of the keys, we're very flexible. What we're looking at now, based on what we've lived through over the last 4 months, is we need more ability to, I'll say, robotize. We need the ability to have more flexible robots in the facility so that we can continue to encourage the physical distancing and reduce the density of the people. So those are the top 2 things. And that's, I think, why it's a challenge here in Rhode Island.
Mm-hmm. Christian, back to you. So you were outlining some of the major findings. So workforce inadequacies or shortages or inability to hire for whatever reason, whether it be the $600 a week extra unemployment or the difficulties in getting employees to pass the drug test or actually getting the drug test results back. What are some of the other findings as a result of your survey?
So I'll stick on workforce if I could a little bit, Laurie. Stu and a lot of companies have told us the struggles they have had just finding people, and Polaris has launched some initiatives along with DLT, Department of Labor and Training, and the Real Jobs Rhode Island program to connect them to people that to job seekers. However, a lot of Stu's sentiments are similar to other companies. Not only are they looking for more people, but there's a skill factor that is increasing as a result of technology and as a result of higher production levels. So a lot of the companies are not just looking for bodies to initially fill roles, but also training programs to make sure that the people coming into those roles have the ability to handle higher level of technology, operate machines such as CNC machines and other automated machines. So there's, as we look at how we recover from this, it's both a volume, which is manpower point of view, and skill level that are able to operate those higher level machines. Very often when automation is talked about from an economy standpoint, people get worried about losing jobs. But really there's a need for both here. And the opportunistic aspect of it for me is their ability to skill up and eventually increase salaries and wages, et cetera. So, long term, we're looking to bring the whole level up with employees. So that was another big theme in the survey that we had gotten.
Right. Well, a lot of people think like, okay, if there's automation or robotization, as you both mentioned, that it's depressing the ability to hire workers. But the whole idea that this is also creating environment for additional or different kinds of jobs.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Stu, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. And I think you're exactly right. People hear more automation, more robots, and that means less people working. What it really means is an upshift in the work skill, right? So it's actually lifting, the potential employment pool to a higher standard and different training, which Christian, I think, was getting to. So I think in the survey, I just got the results before this call, but 60% of the people said if they had additional funding, they would use that to train new or existing workforce, which I found very strong. And another 50% said that they would, and this is not, you could pick multiple, so the percentages add up to more than 100. And another 50% said that they would purchase new equipment or machinery. So, so I think it's a misnomer, as you were pointing out, to say, oh, we're going to automate further, which is going to reduce the need for people. It actually doesn't. It just changes what those people do.
Right. Have you been growing jobs, Stu, as a result of the pandemic, given the critical nature of the work that you do as an essential business?
Yeah. So, I think we're not toilet paper and we're not hand sanitizer, but we're a critical business. And what we found is there's some customers that have won during this, and there's some customers or brands that aren't winning. The brands that are winning, they probably fall into three categories. Number one are what we call cheap and cheerful, and we don't do a lot of the cheap and cheerful stuff. The second one is science-based, so a proven record of product. So this type of product is your Cetaphils, your surveys, things that brands that really have a reason for being. And then the third piece of it is probably in an all-natural sustainability play. So those types of brands have really taken off and becoming very steady. We're seeing demand that probably takes us through the end of the year on some of these brands. And we really see companies or consumers pivoting to, I'll say, affordable luxury, something that's all natural or sustainable, or something that has a reason for being. So, so some of our hiring is coming from that, but a lot of it's coming due to the restrictions of the workforce and some growth with some new projects that we've been lucky enough to secure over the last 12 months.
Christian, and thanks for bearing with us. I know sometimes Wi-Fi gets choppy, particularly at the mid part of the day when everybody's jumping on. So I think we can hear you now. But my question on the survey and some additional findings, did you query any of your manufacturers about who has had to pivot or who has made the conscious choice to pivot what they traditionally were producing, and now they're producing something else, and that's successful?
Yeah, in fact, and hopefully my audio is better now. In the very beginning of the pandemic, Polaris worked very closely with a number of companies that pivoted very quickly, and again, the spirit and the innovation of these companies were fantastic. Some examples: so Lotus Leather, who made very high-end handbags, etc., started making face shields for frontline workers. Envision did as well as another company up in northern Rhode Island, and the best probably example of pivoting and collaboration, a company by the name of Propel, led by Claire King, is a company from Pawtucket. They make very high-end performance textiles for the military. They very quickly got a collaboration of companies that are led by the Rhode Island Textile Innovation Network. And those companies included Darlington Fabrics, Eagle Tool, Stretch Products, Northeast Knitting. They all collaborated to start making masks to face coverings. And they now have Propel in partnership with all them. They were all supplying material, elastics, cloth, etc. And they now have orders for more than 1 million masks going forward, and it doesn't look like it's going to end anytime soon. So none of those companies were in the mask business before, and they all did a very hard pivot, which is a very difficult business decision to make and not necessarily profitable, but they really provided an essential service to Rhode Islanders in a really hard time at the beginning of this pandemic.
Yeah, a couple of months ago, we interviewed the plant manager at Honeywell in Smithfield, and he talked about how the Honeywell plant there had to change and meet the demand for the federal strategic stockpile for masks, and now millions and millions and millions of masks are being produced out of Smithfield as you point out, a hard pivot. So sometimes with very dire circumstances, good things actually can result. And if you have your head up, and if you have the wherewithal, and if you have the perspicacity to see around corners and know that there's, a definite market niche that needs to be filled. But on that score, do you see the need for PPE as something that's going to be stretching on for as long as we can imagine?
I do. I've been on several calls on a national level, both with the MEP network and the Department of Defense, where there seems to be some complacency that we have enough PPE. Those are largely on frontline workers now. So both the DoD and our federal partners have said they really see another surge of PPE requirements as schools open. And generally people start getting back into offices. There will be a need for masks, gloves, cleaning supplies. That surge hasn't really hit us yet. So there is kind of a national viewpoint that we're not finished with the PPE need. In fact, the need may rise over the next few months. It depends where the virus goes.
Before we go back to Stu, I want to ask you, is there anything else in the survey that you found particularly surprising?
I mean, from my perspective, we've been so hands-on. A lot of people say that one of Rhode Island's strengths is its size. So we've been so hands-on with a lot of the companies that we're supporting. Hands-on have been virtual lately, but there weren't as many surprises. It was very good to hear, that even the perspective from an employer was positive looking forward, that they see their businesses recovering in a relatively quickly point of view, and also good and reassuring to see that they're looking to invest in the companies, and how do they get technology in, how do they hire more people, and how do they skill people up. So it was great to see all that kind of bear out in the numbers, and Stu's a great example of that.
Okay, Stu, I have been to your plant on a number of occasions, and you have been very gracious to show me the entire manufacturing process from start to finish. And it's been so amazing to watch that and to understand that, I don't know if the average person realizes that, but you go to the pharmacy, you go to the grocery store, and you go up and down the aisle, and virtually every type of soap that you see on the shelf, bar soap, is made in West Warwick, Rhode Island, and that you are the master, chef, if you will. You have the recipe, the specific recipe for whatever the brand is looking for a particular soap product. And it's your job responsibility, it's your niche to actually cook up that brand or cook up that bar soap. So can you tell us a little bit about how that works, and what kind of, you mentioned the scientific brands and the luxury, affordable luxury brands really taking off now. I was interested in the black soap, the charcoal soap that was popular a couple of years ago. So please tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So, as you mentioned, this little company here in Rhode Island, for the last 50 years of our existence, we've been creating formulations for all of the brand builders and channel builders in the world. Just to give you some perspective, Tom and Kate from Tom's of Maine came down about 35 years ago and wanted an all-natural soap to go with their toothpaste. And so we developed a formulation for them. And we have that ability to do that because we do a small batch process or a kettle method. And I could, spend hours giving you a tutorial on how to make soap. But bar soap is made by taking oils from all over the world, putting some caustic together, and there's a natural chemical reaction that occurs to create bar soap. And if you exclude the top 5 CPG companies in the world, we own about over 51% of the market for soap. So Tom's of Maine, Clinique, all the Estee Lauder products, the L'Oreal products, Method, SC Johnson, Amway. I could keep going on and on. And then you throw in the top 5 CPG companies in the world, and we're their exclusive provider in the world. So we do all the Johnson & Johnson products. So Neutrogena, Ambi, Johnson & Johnson baby soap. We do Dial product for Henkel. We do the Colgate Tom's of Maine product. And so we do a lot. So as you said, you can go into any store, and it's most likely if you pick up a bar soap, right here in West Warwick, Rhode Island. We do have another facility in Columbus, Indiana. It's a much smaller facility than here. So one of the things that we've been seeing through the years as we develop these formulas is there's a natural side to it, which we call a natural side. There's a chemical side. And there's about 2 companies in the world that can do the chemical side. It's Unilever and Bradford soap. And the chemical side might sound scary, but it's really not. It's derived from coconut oil, but there's something called SCI. And what they do is they strip out the carbon chains of a coconut strain from maybe the length of 13 to 18, and that is made into a soap product. So if you're familiar with Dove, right? So Dove, it's never advertised as soap. It's advertised as a moisturizing regime or a cleansing regime, and that's because it's not technically soap; it's detergent. And so we helped Unilever launch Dove over 40 years ago. So we have that ability, and through the years we've developed the formulations for Cetaphil, CeraVe, Pharmaceutical Specialties, Guthrie Renker, and Proactive. So that's all in the science range, and that's called science because the pH of that soap matches the pH of your skin at about 5.5. So if you go to a dermatologist, you got a skin problem of any sort, they'll typically push you into that realm of soap. The other side is all natural, right? So all natural soap is making from oils that we get from all over the world. Typically, you hear about palm oil or coconut oil, but we can make it out of olive oil. We can make 100% olive oil soap. We can make a sunflower soap. So we have over 50 proprietary bases that we develop, and we keep each formula in a locked vault, and we share none of those formulas with any of our customers. What we've been finding over the last 5 to 10 years is that it's really important on sourcing and sustainability of products. And what we're able to do, we were the first soap company in the world to work with a plantation Central America, and we source over 50% of our palm oil from this plantation in Central America. And the key is that they spend over $1 million a year in providing medical services to the community. They have the University of Colorado come down with their doctors and their students, and they stay right in the city in Guatemala. They provide schooling, buildings, and education to these communities. And that soap comes right from the palm tree, or the oils come right from the palm tree right to our facility in West Warwick. So it's a very traceable product. There's no child labor. They don't water it. They don't burn down the palm plantations with smoke and fire that you hear a lot of things. So if you're interested, I know you've got a video on Rainforest Alliance palm and the accountability. Maybe it'd be we could play that.
So tell us a little bit about what we just saw, Stu.
Yeah, so that's our sourcing of what's called Rainforest Alliance palm oil. And again, you'll hear a lot of conversation about people concerned about palm and their products. Palm is one of the largest commodities used in the world, and it's mostly used in food processes. Only about 2% of it's used in personal care products. But people are very concerned about the sustainability of the world, rightfully so. And what's happened in Malaysia and other Far East countries is they've chopped out the natural forests to plant palm trees, because more palm means more revenue. Most of these palm plantations are little family groups that live their entire life on the plantations farming, and that's how they sustain their families. But when they use chemicals and use a lot of water and cut down the environment, people do not want to use that product. So we developed and sourced through an NGO out of New York City, the Rainforest Alliance. And Rainforest Alliance you may be familiar with, because if you buy like Dole fruits, there's a little green frog on it. Certain chocolates have the little green frog, and that's their certification, independent certification that it's fair trade and it's sustainable. And so we've been really trying to work on the sustainability angle because we believe it and we know consumers want it. And so that's what we've done with our palm oil. There's another ingredient that we've worked really strong with, which is shea. We source all of our shea butter from Ghana. And by sourcing all of our shea butter from Ghana, it empowers the women of the villages to have a voice at the table. Prior to that, it was very men-driven because they brought in the money. And so now the women have organized together. We buy the shea, they sell the shea butter. They're bringing in more money than the men. So now they can have a voice at the table. They're providing medical insurance to their children. They're providing schooling to their children. So it's really about empowering women. And we have many brands that will use that. So I think there's just a short clip on the global shea sourcing as well. one of the things that's crazy about that clip, and we filmed that, and we went over to Ghana about 2 years ago to film that, and see where we like to see where we're sourcing our, and those women, that's what they do 7 days a week by hand. They pick the shea nuts up off the ground, put them in baskets or bowls, carry them on the top of their head to good distances, and then they process over time. They take their babies or children with them. If the babies are small, they wrap them up on their backs, and they carry them with them. And they're very understanding that this shea that they're making by hand is giving them a better life. So it's very proud that we can offer things like that.
Yeah. So you and I have talked about this over the years, and I know you don't just talk about it, but you actually walk the walk, and that you have spent a fair amount of time in Ghana with these women, watching this process and understanding what it means as a lifeline to them. You must be extremely proud that you are able to deliver that kind of sustainability, financial sustainability, to the residents there. What are your future plans for other additional sustainable processes?
Yeah, so I take the questions in two directions, and we are very proud of what we're doing with Rainforest Alliance and Global Shea. But some of the other things we try to do as much zero waste as we can. And so in the soap process, if we can, we will recycle. As you process soap, it comes out in a long string called a slug. And if you can envision it, I know Laurie, you can. It looks like a piece of Play-Doh, and then you stamp it, and it turns into a square bar, a round bar, a rectangle bar. But you have the scrapping. So if you had a Play-Doh kit when you were a kid, you had those scrappings. We recycle as much as that back into the process and putting it into soap. But there's pieces of that cannot be used at all. And so you end up with this bits and pieces of soap. And so we found, partnering with World Vision, is we have sent hundreds of thousands of pounds of this scrap going to Africa as well. And what they've done, the first place it was taken was to Somalia, one of the most dangerous places in the world. And what we've been told is, it gets shipped in. The individuals that run the country look at it and say, this looks worthless. They let it proceed to, again, another group of women who are learning about money, and they remelt it down, turn it into bars of soap, which they're using in their communities to clean themselves and their families, and they sell it to their neighbors. The story that we've been told is there's a roaming doctor that would come into the villages. Before they had soap that we donated to them, the doctor had so many people coming, it was a line down the path. After using the soap, the doctor had less visits. And so he was actually able to spend less time in their village and go to the next village and help more people. So that's really, when we get that feedback, it really is heartwarming, and it does make you understand you're making an impact around the world, and that personally makes me feel great, and I know it makes the rest of the team feel great. Some of the sustainability things that we're working on going forward is we're developing products that have little or no water in them. So moisturizers that are in a stick format. We have one formulation that has zip water in it, no water. The challenges with these, we have shampoo bars. We've got shave sticks that we're developing and have sold to Cremo. We've got fragrance sticks, moisturizing sticks. You name it, we're developing solid technology and personal care. But the challenge is that they come in a container that could be a single-use plastic. So we're working with a company in New Jersey called TerraCycle on how to eliminate single-use plastics or to make plastics more recyclable. So more to come on that, but that's our next big adventure into sustainability.
So at this point, we need to say goodbye to Christian Cowan. I know, Christian, you have another meeting that you need to run, so we're going to let you go. But before we let you go, is there anything additional you want to share about the Polaris MEP survey? And we can spend a few more minutes talking to Stu after you leave. But I do want to just make sure that we say thank you to you and give you a chance to offer some parting words.
Well, I appreciate it, Laurie. The manufacturing community here in Rhode Island continues to be very resilient and innovative in this crisis. There are, one of the points coming back at the survey, 50%, half of the companies that took the survey are still only 50 to 75% open, staffed compared to previous levels. So, there's definitely work to be done. I think the employers, the leading community are pushing forward, but there's a tremendous opportunity both from a federal and state standpoint for reshoring products that are currently and previously made overseas and imported into the U.S. So there's been a lot of very good, interesting conversation. Again, the employers are pushing us all to make sure that we get programs to support reshoring, new products made here in Rhode Island, and even the same products made here in Rhode Island just to be more competitive with imports from other countries. So we are looking to, how do we get all of the companies back at or above previous virus levels, those 50% of the companies back up to where they were. And I think reshoring is an important aspect of it. So we're looking now at, how do we identify companies that are importing and connect Rhode Island companies to them where they can supplant some of those products, be it textiles, metals, or composites, or anything in between. And there are a great chance to continue with PPE production where companies that have pivoted and are critical as the company starts opening up again. So there's a few options for reshoring, and we continue to look to make sure we help support all these companies to get open and grow again.
Well, we appreciate your leadership of this important industry, and we thank you for your time today and the insights that you generated from your survey. And I know that we will look forward to reading in greater depth about some of the findings and issues and points of pride of our local manufacturers. So Christian Cowan from Polaris, thank you very much. And we'll continue to talk to Stu if that's okay.
Thanks, Laurie. Appreciate it, Stu. Great to see you. And I'll talk to you both.
Okay. All right, Stu, I know we have at least another video that we could show. So why don't we take a look at the third of the videos that you have so graciously shared with us to see what else we can learn about this industry of soap making.
Sure.
What did we just see there, Stu?
So that is the further conversation of bringing to light that water is a major issue in this world. And that's something that we started talking about 3 to 4 years ago with our customers, that, by 2050, and probably sooner now, there's going to be a significant strain on the water that we use. And in fact, in 2018, Cape Town, Africa ran out of water. And then just recently you heard news that the largest water mass in India is at almost empty. And so we talk about this because obviously promoting solid cleansing and then solid personal care, there's a lot less water in the products that we sell to our customers. If you look at a traditional bottle of liquid soap, it's mostly water. There's not a lot of science to it. It can hold bacteria and mold, and you're shipping water really throughout the world. So we've talked to our customers about the elimination of water in products, and that's where we came up with a shampoo bar that we just recently launched with Unilever under their Love Beauty Planet brand. It's highly effective. For somebody like me, doesn't mean so much, but for somebody like you with lots of hair, it actually works. It foams and it nourishes your hair. We've also started to develop the moisturizing bars or moisturizing sticks that we've talked about. That uses over 70% of the shea butter that you saw in the previous video, but uses no water in the production of it, and doesn't need water to use. So it's a big issue. What we've seen is, interestingly, over the last 6 months, while sustainability has been always top of mind to our consumers, they are looking for more sustainable and healthy alternatives. And this is something that came out of, I guess, raised the awareness due to COVID. I was recently, on a call with L'Oreal, and by 2030 they want to eliminate their water usage dramatically, and all the major brands are coming out with this. So hopefully we can be part of the solution with this, and make these products that have little to no water in them when they're manufactured.
Well, this issue of water is very important and very timely. And it's not just across the planet where these are very, very critical issues, but we know that in California and parts of the Midwest or the Southwest, that water is in very short supply, and it's really prized and it's taxed, and there's a great deal of current pressure to get consumers to really understand water is in fact a precious commodity, and it's not something you just take for granted when you turn on the tap.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a message we've been trying to put forth for a while now.
Yeah, absolutely. So just one more question before we leave you, and we might have time for one last video, but I think people are interested in knowing if there's any discernible difference in soap bar A versus B versus C versus E. Is it, strictly packaging with, slight variations in the formulation, or would you say that there's a wide continuum in terms of discernible difference in price?
In the products that we make, there are very big differences, and very real differences. I've been with Bradford for almost 10 years now, and when I first got here, I would get the question, "Oh, it's all the same." And as I understood the process and what we do and how we do it, it is totally different. It all starts with the base. So soap is a two-step process. The first process is making this base. And that's the saponification process. That's where we're gathering oils from all over the world, putting them in a 45,000-pound vessel, and there's this natural reaction that creates what we call soap noodles. And we're really creative with it. We have competitors that do not have the ability to saponify, or if they do, they can saponify one base. But most of our competitors will source their base from Malaysia. And from Malaysia, you basically can get vanilla. Sometimes you can get a little chocolate, and that base is about an 80-20 palm oil to coconut ratio. As I may have said earlier, we have over 50 proprietary bases, and they're all different. And by doing things in this kettle method, we can bake stuff into the base that other companies can't. So we have one brand that we've had for a long, long time, and it has, a 7% special ingredient in it. And we can put that in the noodle. And the reason that's important is the second step of making soap is essentially pushing it through and pressing it. And when you put a soap noodle in what we call, think of it as a big mixing vessel that compacts it together and then extrudes it out into the slug, you can only add about 3 to 5% of a fragrance load or a special bits and pieces load. So you're very limited to what you can do. But by us doing this kettle method, we have the ability to do 100% coconut oil. We have the ability to do 50% coconut oil. We have formulations where we use a 70% shea butter. There's nobody in the world that can make a 70% shea butter soap. So we have a lot of ability to make it different, and it is different. Some of the cheap and cheerful stuff that I talked about earlier, there's not a lot of discernible differences other than fragrance. But anything that we make is pretty different.
We are learning so much today, all about soap making and the scientific and chemical and sustainable practices that go along with making soap. And I know when I travel, or when I used to travel, that going into various hotels and seeing the small samples of soap that they provide for you, I just knew whether it was Crabtree and Evelyn or other places or other brands that likely all of those little bars of soap and the little containers were made in West Warwick, Rhode Island. So another point of pride.
Yes, it's very prideful. I think one of the greatest things that I hear from the team here is, they can go from the manufacturing floor and make a specific brand, and then they can go in non-COVID times, but go walk their stores and see that brand. And one of the most interesting things that occurred to me was when I was in Africa, and we went into a little store to get some water, and at the bottom shelf in this very little store, there was a box of Cetaphil soap, and that's only made one place in the world, made here. So it was pretty neat to see it sitting there in Ghana, Africa.
Are you still wearing your bracelets?
I don't have them on today. I usually wear them, but I didn't wear them today. I've been wearing them off and on for during this period of time to make sure that I'm as clean as possible. Not
Perfect.
picking up things. So,
all right. So let's do one last video, and then we'll talk about it for a second, and then we will let you go as the master chef. So how about one more video, Mike? I imagine your messaging has changed quite a bit in response to soap being an antidote to the virus.
yes, it's the thing that we're seeing is over 40% of consumers are washing their hands at least 10 times a day now. Hygiene has come to the forefront again, which is kind of scary if you think about it, that we were probably a little lax in our hygiene, but it's what we're seeing is people are more and more focused on cleanliness, healthiness, emotional health, and the products that we make can actually help in both areas, right? They can help clean your hands. As I said earlier, bar soap, because it's made with fats and oils, it has it has the ability to kill the virus much more effectively than hand sanitizer or liquid soap. But if you can't get to a sink and wash your hands, then definitely use the hand sanitizer. But also with the fragrance and the visual effects of soap, it can lead to additional wellness from an emotional point of view as well. So we're seeing a lot of companies looking to increase fragrance loads, which we're recommending, and you're getting a lot of fragrances that are soothing to the sensors. So there's a lot in that little bar of soap that nobody ever would have thought of.
Well, thank you, Stu, for taking the time to walk us through it and to paint a picture of your factory and your manufacturing operation and the soap noodles and all the very, very unique things that the original Bradford Soap Works has brought to this industry and to this sector of our manufacturing community since the 1800s. So we are so grateful to you for taking the time out of your day today, and also for your time and your input and your insights that you provide as a member of the Greater Providence Chamber of Commerce and our board of directors. So I know that you will have a wonderful day, and we look forward to catching up with you again very soon. So
Yes,
please let us know if we can do anything and if you need anything from us, because we are here for you.
we will. And I thank you for having me. I enjoyed my time, and I just leave you with live, love, and lather.
Okay, perfect. Love and laughter. Take care, everybody.